everybody, what's going on? It's Monday once again, and we're here doing another movie review.
Yeah.
This thing here, okay, I picked this movie just like at random. I'd heard of it before, but it was one of the few movies that was in the Amazon Prime, like, suggested movies that I hadn't seen or that we hadn't reviewed before. So I was kind of curious to watch it, and then, like, after I watched it, when I was doing research, I found out that this was the debut film of the director John McTiernan, who also did Predator, Die Hard, The Hunt for Red October, and The 13th Warrior, among other things, and The Last Action Hero. This was actually his first movie, and he wrote and directed it. It's based on a book, and the weird thing about it is that the woman that wrote the book, she's kind of, like, really well known for doing a whole fuck-ton series of novels about Count Saint Germain, the vampire that we talked about, like, on the last... He's not really a vampire, obviously, but their legend is he's a vampire. So I was like, oh, that's kind of fortuitous, isn't it? And this was also the film debut of Pierce Brosnan. Obviously, he had been on TV prior to this in Remington Steele.
Yeah.
But this was his first movie. This is a weird movie.
It wasn't for me.
This is a weird movie.
Yeah, it wasn't for me.
I didn't love it. Okay. The cinematography is beautiful. I liked the score. I liked the soundtrack. I liked the concept. I think it's, like, a really good original idea. I've never read the book, so I don't know how similar the book is to the movie. But I felt like the movie was, like, a little bit disjointed. Like, it was kind of a little bit hard to follow.
Yeah, and I didn't really find it that interesting.
And it really didn't need to be hard to follow. And it's supernatural horror, but I kind of feel like they should have leaned harder into that. Yeah. Like, I understand that this was, like, a low budget.
Yeah, it didn't have that
film.
Feel. It didn't have a supernatural feel to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty grounded in reality, even though, you know, the street gangs or the punks or whatever that he's fighting are technically supposed to be, like, evil spirits.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into in a bit, but...
Yeah, one of them was adamant.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, and that's kind of like, so not only is Pierce Brosnan in this, but the punks, Adam Ant plays one of the main ones, and Josie Cotton plays one of them too, and I was like, man, wasn't she was in Valley Girl singing that song, Johnny Are You Queer?
Yeah.
That's a great song, by the way.
Okay.
But yeah, so she was in that, so I recognized her.
He looked great.
And then Mary Woronov is in it as one of the punks too.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like, it has, like, a lot of famous people in it. But it's, like, a bizarre...
Yeah, the movie's kind of high quality for a low-budget movie.
It is, yeah. It came out in 1986. The novel came out in 1984. Like I said, I haven't read the novel, so I don't know how similar it is.
You could tell it was kind of punching above its weight.
Big time.
Where it was a quality production, like she said, the way it was shot, the acting and everything, the casting was really good. There was nothing in it that fucking really kind of took me out of the picture or you know, was like, oh, that's fucked up. Everything, I responded well to everything. The problem was that it was just kind of boring. To me, it was just kind of boring. The demons or the evil spirits or whatever, to me, they weren't scary. They weren't intimidating at all. Adamant is kind of a smaller, good-looking guy. You know what I mean? And he didn't really come across as... He came across about as tough as... That gang of punk rockers came across about as tough as something like out of fucking the Warriors, which ain't saying much.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like it's kind of fallen into that thing where a lot of 80s had punks as villains.
Yeah.
Even though
that's not the way they really were.
That's not really the way they were. But yeah, I guess, like, some people were scared of them or whatever, thought they looked
just
scary.
the way they looked with it.
So it's like, I think the 80s movies that had the jocks as villains are a lot more accurate. Yeah. But
punk rockers were actually skinny and fun. They were friendly.
Yeah, and they're usually pretty chill.
Yeah,
and,
they're
like,
friendly.
nice to people.
Yeah, and they're just fucking around.
Yeah.
So to cast them as villains, it's kind of, they're not intimidating. They're just their physicality's not intimidating.
I like that they.
Adam Ant's wearing midriff. He's showing midriff. You know what I mean? Come on.
He looked hot in this, though.
Yeah, he's gonna beat your ass and kill you and scare you while he's dressed like a male stripper. You know, it's not from the '80s. You know, no.
He can beat me dressed like that if he wants to. With the whip and his valise.
Yeah.
But,
Pierce Brosnan was a lot taller than him, too. They had to do some fucking camera tricks to kind of hide that fact.
Yeah.
Because when they stand, I think fucking Pierce Brosnan is probably a fucking foot taller than him.
Yeah, he's a tall fella. Tall and a little bit, I wouldn't say lanky, but he's kind of tall and slim.
I would. Yeah, he's wiry.
You know?
Not
he
really.
looked good in this, though. Like, even though he had a big-ass beard and everything.
Yeah.
Well, not a big-ass. He didn't have, like, a ZZ Top beard or nothing, but he had, like, a full beard and a mustache. But it looked good on him, though, I thought.
And he was okay as James Bond.
Yeah, he was a good James Bond.
Yeah. Although he was kind of like, oh, what's his name? Fucking, I looked at fucking Pierce Brosnan and he didn't look like he could beat anybody's ass, you know? Same thing with, what's his name? Fucking Roger Moore. Roger Moore couldn't beat anybody's ass. He looked like models.
Well, obviously not.
Yeah.
He would just
Timothy Dalton, maybe.
He would just quip you to death.
Yeah. Timothy Dalton looked like he could fight a little bit, but these are drama kids, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just more about the character, and they're just mostly shooting people.
Yeah. Really wasn't until fucking Lazenby, his version of Bond, I think. Yeah, he looked like he could fight.
He looked a bit like a bruiser, yeah.
Yeah, and then fucking the new one, fucking what's his name? Craig. Danny Craig. Yeah. He looked like he could fight.
Yeah.
If he pulled a gun on you, you'd think he'd shoot you. Yeah, you know, fucking Pierce Brosnan didn't look like he was going to shoot you. Although he did have one good fucking GoldenEye was a great movie. I like that one.
Good video game too.
Yeah, good video game.
But yeah, so in this movie, he's playing an anthropologist, and he's playing a French anthropologist, which you know what? It wasn't that distracting. Because look, I know Pierce Brosnan is not French, okay? So it's like he had to speak French in this one and do a French accent, like, through the whole thing. And it was okay. Like, I wasn't cringing too hard. But the woman that plays his wife, I don't think she was French either. And she was also having to do a French accent. And the thing about it is, I don't really know. There wasn't really anything in the plot that necessitated them being French. They could have been any. I mean, he could have just been British, like regular, and I don't know where she's from. Her name's Italian, but that doesn't mean anything. So I don't know why they couldn't have just made them like the other. I don't know if they were French in the book. Now, originally, Gerard Depardieu was supposed to play that role, and obviously he is French. So maybe that's why they just decided they were going to keep it as a French character, because there was so much French kind of throughout the story, like, because them speaking French and like people not knowing what they were saying because it takes place in LA, like, was kind of a big part of the plot where people are like, what's he saying? We don't understand, you know what I mean? So that kind of played into it, but I don't really know. I think it probably would have just been better to make him and his wife not French, because the actors are not French.
Yeah.
And then but you know what, he did an okay job. It was, like I said, it wasn't cringy or anything like that, too bad. But I just, there wasn't really any compelling reason why they had to be French, so I kind of feel like they had to change it. Like I said, maybe they're French in the book, and that's why. So, this is structured very strangely. And I don't know if I would have done it like this either. Because at the very beginning of the movie, and honestly, Pierce Brosnan is only second build. Leslie Ann Down is first build. And she plays a doctor named Eileen. Dr. Flax? Yeah, that's her name. And at the very beginning, she's like just coming off, she's been like on a 36-hour shift or some shit like that. And Pierce Brosnan's character gets brought in, and he looks like he's got his ass beat, and he's like raving like a crazy person, and they don't know what's wrong with him. And he's just yelling all this stuff in French, and nobody knows what he's saying. And in the first, and this isn't even really a spoiler because it happens like in the first like 5 minutes of the movie, Pierce Brosnan dies in the first. And I was just like, oh, well, guess he's not going to be in the movie. But I knew he was because I'd seen the trailer. So then what happens is that before he dies, he grabs the doctor, Dr. Leslie Ann Down, and whispers something in her ear. You can't hear it. I don't think you're supposed to. But he whispers something in her ear. You kind of find out later, sort of, like what he was saying. And then from that point on, after he dies, she basically starts living his life, like seeing his memories of his last week of his life, like through his eyes. And I thought that was kind of, I didn't really see the reason for that either. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't know why they couldn't have just made it a straightforward story about Pierce Brosnan, the anthropologist, encountering these nomads. Like, I don't know why they had to have the layer over it of this doctor seeing things from his perspective after he died. You know what I mean? I didn't really understand the point of that. But yeah, so because like I said, it just made things kind of confusing because she's kind of wandering around doing stuff and, you know, fainting here and there and seeing shit, and then like looks in a mirror but she sees Pierce Brosnan and all this other stuff, and then she wanders off. And so there's like this subplot where like all her friends and colleagues are like looking for her because she's wandering off, like reliving his last life or the last week of his life, and like going the places he went, and they don't know where she is. So they're kind of like tracking her at the same time, but it's mostly the Pierce Brosnan story. So the thing about it is that him and his wife, whose name is Nikki, I think, and they've been doing anthropologist stuff like for the past decade or whatever the fuck they said, like going all over the world, and his study is nomadic peoples. During the course of his researches, he has come across, you don't find this out until like midway through the movie, but he has come across what are essentially like evil spirits or trickster spirits that are Inuit in origin, but they can take human form, and they are attracted to places where bad shit happened, and they like to cause mischief and mayhem. And if they realize that you can see them, or if you're too interested in them, then they will start fucking your life up, because that's what they do. So he moves into this house. The wife wants to settle down after all of this traveling around the world they've been doing. So they move to a house in LA. Unbeknownst to them, some bad shit happened at this house. Like girls got murdered there or something like that. They don't like go way into it. Like really you just see it on these little newspaper articles, and I don't even think anybody says what happened. So you just kind of have to read the headlines and read between the lines, you know? But so I guess that the Nomads are drawn to this house because of the murders that happened there. So not too long after they move in, like, somebody spray paints some shit on their garage door, and then when he opens the garage, he sees that they've put, like, a shrine in there, like, to the murderer. And he thinks that's really weird. And then he sees this black van, like, going up and down the street all the time. And so he kind of becomes interested, and he kind of sees the punks, like, sort of hanging around the van or whatever. And he surmises that these are the people that did it, and he gets kind of interested in them, so he starts, like, following them around. You know what I mean? Which, probably not the wisest move. Because the first night that he does this, he basically just says to his wife, hey, catch you later, I'm going to go follow these hooligans, like, all around LA.
Yeah, there's this
in the middle of the night.
There's this scene where they kill somebody.
Yeah, and he goes and he sees them, like,
hey, don't do that.
Knock that off. You stop that.
And he's, like, outnumbered 6-1.
And then they all look at him, and he's like, oh, shit.
Yeah, just fucking stupid. Yeah. Hey, don't kill that guy. You stabbed him in the eyes. Yeah,
well, the weird thing about it, though, is that if you noticed, like, he sees from afar, like, they kill the dude. And then he's like, holy shit. And like I said, he runs out and he's basically like, no, you knock it off. He doesn't say that. But I mean, you know.
Basically is what he says.
But yeah, he's
you
like,
kids knock that off.
You get out of here.
Yeah.
You miscreants. But they kill this person and then throw him in a dumpster. But when he looks in that dumpster a few minutes later, there's nobody in there.
Yeah, it was an illusion.
So I think it was some kind of illusion. Or they were like making him see things. Because like I said, they're not real. Like they're not... Yeah. People can see them, I guess. Or maybe only he can see them. I guess his wife can see them too. But yeah.
I didn't really ask. I didn't really question that much. I had a hard time staying focused on the movie, actually.
Like I said, I will admit that it's kind of hard to follow.
Yeah, it didn't pull me in either.
And I don't really get, like I said, I don't think it was necessary for them to keep switching back and forth.
I had the feeling that that he was trying to make a highbrow horror movie.
Yeah. For
non-horror people. But the thing is that horror fans aren't real highbrow. They're not really, that's not what they're looking for. Not in that way.
Speak for yourself.
You know? And then highbrow people don't like horror. Not in that era. No.
No, not back then they didn't.
No, a horror movie was something that's fun. Just fun and exhilarating. You know, it wasn't... wasn't classy. This bitch is trying to be classy, if you ask me.
Well, I don't mind that. And, you know, honestly, there's been arty horror movies since forever. You know, it's not like a new phenomenon.
Yeah, well, the Jack Nicholson Wolfman movie, was it Wolf? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That was like a classy boomer.
It was like a boomer werewolf.
Yeah, it was a boomer
werewolf. We reviewed that a while back. But no, I was thinking about movies like... I was even thinking about shit from the 70s, like Alice Sweet Alice or Let's Scare Jessica to Death or something like that, which were kind of more arty, farty like horror movies. But, you know, and
That was Giallo, though.
And I tend to like, well, Let's Scare Jessica to Death wasn't.
Yeah.
That was a vampire movie. But I tend to like movies like that. This one, I can see where he was going with it, and like I said, I don't know how close it is to the book. But I think that it could have been... Because it's a great idea. I really like the idea of these evil spirits, but they just kind of look like regular people, except like nobody else can see. And there was some freaky shit in this, like while he's following these punks around, and he sees them killing it, and he figures out that these are, because like I said, he's an anthropologist and he's studied these, so he knows about the folklore, and you're led to assume that he has encountered this type of spirit before, like in other cultures. So he knows what they are because they have like he has this big, monologue like at his wife where he's like, they're here like in this modern city, you know what I mean? So he knows what they are. But he's still like following them because he's like fascinated. But the thing about it is that there's some creepy shit in this. Like he's chasing them, and then at one point they're kind of like chasing him. And then they he doesn't realize this at first, but they sort of like kind of lead him to this, what he thinks is an abandoned building. And he goes in there, and there's this nun in there. And she says she's the only one who still lives there. And she knows who he is. And it's just this random fucking place that he ended up in. And she knows who he is and knows what the Nomads are. And basically is like warning him to like stay away from them and shit like that. And then there's like this really weird sequence where like there's a nun that's like hanging, and then like these nuns are crazy. They have masks on, they're ripping their titties and all. It's like like ripping their bodices open. That part was alright. And stuff like that. And it's just, I kind of wish there had been more stuff like that, because that was cool, but that was like not really explained.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was just something that they did for a few seconds. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, we're like, because that nun like never shows up again. Yeah. He just ends up at this story. But I mean, I kind of like that because it was sort of ambiguous, and it's like you're led to assume that whoever this nun was, like she had encountered these evil spirits before, and she was like trying to do him a solid by saying it's like, hey, you need to back off or they're gonna like fuck up your whole entire life, which they already kind of were. But and then like other weird shit happens too, like Adam Ant, who is one of the he wasn't really the lead one, I guess. They did, because I felt like the one with the sunglasses and the ponytail was kind of the lead one. None of them really talk.
But Adam Ant did give some commands though.
That's true.
Tell him to do stuff.
Yeah, but Adam Ant's like outside his house one night, and Pierce Brosnan like straight up beats him to death, like with a tire iron. Like, just in the middle of the night, and then he's just like, yep, well, that's done. And then he just goes back in his house like nothing happened. But then, like, the next morning, he looks out the window, and there's no body there. And also, when he's following them around, like, he takes a bunch of pictures of them, and they think it's funny. Like, they're just, like, Mary Warnoff is, like, gets on top of a car, and she's, like, dancing around and stuff, and he's taking pictures of her, and all this. And this is after he saw them kill somebody, and after they saw him see them kill somebody, you know what I'm saying? So he's just kind of like, okay, well, I'm just gonna come take pictures of you guys. But then like later when he goes to develop the pictures, they're not in them. Like there's nobody in the pictures. So I think that's kind of when he knows for sure. I think he suspected before that they were these nomads, like these evil spirits, but like when he developed the pictures and there was nobody in them, like that's when he knew that they were supernatural.
Yeah. Tammy said that Adam Ant was 5'8" and Pierce Brosnan 6'1". I don't for one second believe that Adam Ant is 5'8". More like 5'6", 5'7" maybe.
Oh, I don't know.
They always fucking lie. He looks pretty short to me. Skinny, but he looks pretty short to me. You know.
I don't know. Like I said,
boots, he's got boots.
I thought he looked good in this movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's not in it a lot, and he doesn't. I don't think. Did they talk? I don't remember.
I don't remember him saying
I don't
anything.
remember any of the Nomads talking.
Yeah.
Which in a way I think was better because that kind of made him more.
Yeah.
But like I said, the thing about it is I'm inherently not scared of
Yeah.
people that dress like punks, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's just like that's not intimidating to me. Like if I just see some punks standing outside, I'm like, oh, I wonder if they have any good, music or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? It's like they're not gonna beat me up or nothing like that. It's all right. But so yeah, so I get that, but I don't know. There is like something about this that's really creepy. Like there were a couple really creepy scenes in it. The nun scene was good. Like some of the chases that they did were really good. And the idea of it is really cool. Like I like the idea of these because you really never, I don't think I can think of another horror movie that's exactly like this or that's based on this particular legend or this particular folklore. I can't really think of another one. But on the other hand, I do kind of wish that they had gone... I wish it wasn't quite as grounded in reality as it is. I wish they had gone more... They don't have to go like full on like ghosts and shit like that, but they could have done a little bit more supernatural, you know what I mean? Instead of just making it kind of prosaic.
Yeah. It didn't speak to me. The movie didn't speak. I mean, it was a quality movie, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, I think that
maybe I watched it a couple times, I might warm up to it.
Yeah, I've heard. I was watching another review of this. These two Canadian guys I like, and they love this movie, but they've seen it a couple times. They said actually, if you watch it a couple more times, like it takes a couple times to like actually click.
Yeah.
Because the structure of it is so odd that it takes a lot to like kind of pick up. Because like I said, you don't even figure out really what's going on, vis-a-vis the Nomads, like what they are, until like halfway into the movie. Maybe it's not halfway, but it's like there's like this whole phone call with like a friend of the doctor's. Her friend calls from Boston or something like that and said, yeah, she asked me about these, whatever this dying French guy said, and this is what they are. Like they're these weird evil spirits and do this and that and the other thing. And that's, if you didn't hear that scene, like you probably have no idea what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I kind of feel like, so that was kind of like the crux of, and I didn't know this, but the voice on the phone in that scene, because I was like, man, that voice sounds so familiar. It was Glenn Shaddix from Beetlejuice, the guy that played Otho.
Oh, okay.
And I was just kind of like, man, I knew I heard that fucking voice somewhere. I don't think he was credited in the movie, but I found out like on some other thing because it was bothering me, like how familiar that voice sounded. But yeah, that's who it was. It was Otho from Beetlejuice. That's his voice that was. But yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, it's a great idea. Like the cinematography is gorgeous. I think it's... I would have changed a couple things. I think I would have re-edited it. I think I would have taken out the whole layer with the doctor. I don't really think that was necessary. It didn't really... I mean, I don't know. I guess because it showed, like, it gave, like, another supernatural aspect to it, because the fact that he whispered something to her before he died, he essentially gave her all his memories. Like, just by whispering something to her. And then she started, like, living his life. So that's kind of cool, but it's like, I don't really know if that added anything to the story. I think they should have just stuck with the last week. And also, Pierce Brosnan dies at the end because he dies at the beginning.
Right, yeah.
So it's like, so there's no suspense. Like, something bad's going to happen to him. And I feel like Leslie Ann Down's character wasn't in it enough for you to get emotionally invested in her character. Like, oh no, I hope nothing bad happens to her. You know what I mean? Because she disappears for like most of the middle of the movie because you're watching, the Pierce Brosnan storyline play out. So I think I probably would have just structured it more linear and maybe taken that bit out. Or at least run them in parallel, kind of. I don't know. They kind of did that, but I don't know if it was all that successful. And I would have made Pierce Brosnan and his wife's characters not French, just so they wouldn't have to do the accents and stuff. You could have like tweaked some of the stuff, and like some of the stuff they said in French that people didn't understand, you could just make it some other language or a made up language or something. You know what I mean? You could just do something else with it.
You're trying to be fancy.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know if it was because the characters were French in the book, or or because Gerard Depardieu was originally supposed to play that role, and he is French, but I don't really know. So I just, like I said, he did okay. I didn't cringe too much or anything like that, but I know he doesn't talk like that. And when I see an actor in a movie that I know doesn't have that accent, even if they do a really good job, it's still in the back of my mind that it's like they don't really talk like that. You know what I mean? And it kind of takes me out of it a little bit. So, I mean, they have to be really, really good. So, although the thing about it is, like, a lot of times British actors will play Americans, and if I don't know that they're British or I don't realize or I remember, then it won't distract me because they'll do a good job and I don't think about it. But, you know, it's just kind of like, this isn't to the level of, like, Keanu Reeves doing the British accent in the Dracula movie, but, you know what I mean, which was unfortunate. But, you know what I mean?
It was horrible.
Yeah, yeah, it was really bad. And I love Keanu, I do, but they should have just... That's the thing.
They should have just left him fucking sound like an American. It didn't make any sense.
I guess, but the thing about it is that... I don't know. I don't know. I just think he was miscast in that movie because because his regular voice sounds very California.
Oh yeah.
And
he's from like Long Beach.
Yeah. So and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just how he talks. But it's just kind of like, you know, if you're playing like an upper crust like British person, it's like not gonna.
He just wanted to put cool kids in there, man. Fucking box office draw. They had Winona Ryder and had him in there. I wouldn't have cast him though. But they were just that movie was very successful.
Yeah.
No, it was very successful.
Yeah.
Fucking Gary Oldman fucking knocked it out of the park. That was a great fucking. He did a great performance.
He was great in that. Yeah, like I said, I mean it's flawed, but I mean other than it's a masterpiece.
They could have got British.
Really,
they could have got British actors.
I kind of wish they had.
Yeah.
Now Soundboy says the voice on the phone was the director, not Glenn Shaddix. Oh really? Huh. I guess I was misinformed. It did sound like Glenn Shaddix though. Like when somebody said about it, I was like, oh yeah, that's why that voice sounded familiar. But I guess not. But it's just I don't know. I'm glad I watched it. I kind of want to watch it again at some point.
Yeah,
just to kind of.
I thought it was kind of mediocre. I'd have to see it again.
There was it had some really cool shit in it. Like I said, I really like because I usually like that ambiguous. Like they don't really explain a lot of shit. Like I like that. It's creepier, but I don't know. It felt a little disjointed to me. That's all. And I think that might have been editing, mostly. Like just the way it was structured.
It was a quality movie though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good quality.
Soundboy is saying hi, Jenny and Tom. Brian here. Well, hey Brian, what's going on? What's going on?
Yeah, some people swear by the movie.
Yeah, and like I said, it's it doesn't have real high reviews. Like I think on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, I think it's like 30-something%. But it does have its defenders. I read Roger Ebert's review of it from the 80s, and he really did not like it.
What did he say?
He just basically said it doesn't make any sense, and you don't give enough of a shit about the characters to to like care about it or anything like that. He wasn't like he didn't shit on it completely. Like he did have some good stuff to say about it, but he was basically like he didn't really give that much of a damn about anybody in it.
Yeah, the movie didn't pull me in early, and if it doesn't pull me in the first fucking 5-10 minutes, it's probably not gonna pull me in, and it just didn't. I just kind of sat through it and kept getting distracted. I was having a hard time staying focused on it. Just the story wasn't for me.
It would have been cool if it would have started with Pierce Brosnan and the wife moving into the house. You could have done that for a couple minutes and kind of established that hey, we just settled down in LA from going around the world. And then like only minutes later you have like the black van and you have like the weird shrine in the garage and shit like that. Like it should have started with that.
Yeah.
Because the starting with the doctor and starting with Pierce Brosnan dying, I was just kind of like, I knew Pierce Brosnan was going to be a main character in it because, like I said, I watched the trailer, you know, so I was like, well, he's not going to die in like the first 2 minutes, right? Like they're going to do flashbacks, and that's what they did. But because you know he's going to die, it's kind of like, you don't really, because you're a lot more invested in his character than you are in Leslie Ann Down's character because he's on screen a lot more.
Yeah, as soon as it started jumping around, I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be one of these.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I mean, movies like this, if they start getting too sophisticated, I start checking out of them like I don't give a shit. I mean, now, sometimes if they're really good, they will pull me in. But then a dumb fucking movie, Okay, just a really dumb movie but it's really compelling, like Shockwaves. All right, it's just almost like a homemade fucking movie made here in Florida about fucking aquatic Nazi zombies back in the 70s. Peter Cushing. There's nothing really to that movie.
Yeah, not a lot happens in it.
Not a
really.
lot happens to it. A lot of shit's dumb and doesn't make sense. But I'll watch every frame of that and enjoy it. And it's just because it's simple. And I think a lot of it's just atmosphere. It's atmosphere, yeah. I think. And there's just something about it. I don't know. It's a simple story, and for some reason it'll keep you kind of riveted. Shockwaves. And that was just a fucking B movie. Not even B movie. That was a fucking C movie. But there was something about it. It felt good. It was...
Well, there's movies that you vibe with and movies that you don't. Yeah. And the thing about it is that I never really know what movies I'm going to vibe with and what I'm going to not. And, like, sometimes it could be a super highbrow movie. Sometimes it could be, like, a super dumb movie. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it could be just something in between. You know, sometimes I can see something that everybody loved and I'm just like, it didn't really do anything for me. Or, you know, on the other hand, I'll see something that everyone was like, I kind of hated that and I fucking loved it. You know, because everybody's different and I'm going to vibe with stuff like... So this one, it didn't really grab me. Like, I was interested enough, like, to see what was going on, like, to see till the end and stuff, but, you know, my writer brain the whole time was like, I think I would have done that different, or I would have moved this section over here, or something like that. I just would have structured it differently. Soundboy points out, this was a fun fact that I wanted to point out, was that Arnold Schwarzenegger loved this movie so much that he asked... the director, that's why he asked him to direct Predator. Okay. Because he saw this movie and he's just like, wow, what a cool movie he made, like, on fucking no money. And he made it, like, really creepy and everything. So, like I said, it is creepy. Like, it has creepy moments in it. But I don't know. I think there's some stuff I would have changed about it. But I do want to see it again. Because I kind of feel like there's a lot of shit going on in there that maybe you don't pick up on. You know what I mean? When you just watch it the first time. Because I had never seen this. I thought maybe I had. Because I remember seeing the box art, like, in the fucking video store and stuff. Or I thought I'd seen it on cable, because I used to see a lot of shit on cable. But then when I started watching it, I'm like, none of this looks familiar to me, so I don't think I ever saw it. I must have just seen the cover, like, over and over. Okay. But, you know. But it's on Amazon Prime. I think it's on Shudder also, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I'd be curious, like, those of y'all that have seen it, or if you've seen it more than once, like, let me know if it gets better, like, with more viewings, because that's what I've heard. But I would be interested enough, like, to watch it again just for... But man, I really wish they hadn't made him French, though. It was, like I said, it wasn't that bad, but, like, I was like, wait, he's French? Yeah. I was like, oh no. Like, stop it. It wasn't that bad, though.
You know what I did today?
What'd you do?
I'm telling them. Went to the store. I was going to get us something to eat, man, because I was cleaning out the garage. I'm going to put some new storage bins in the garage. The guy coming tomorrow to install them.
Like new shelving and stuff.
Yeah. I said, man, I want to get some of that Chinese food. But the fucking Chinese restaurant was closed.
On Mondays.
So I go over to just next door to the dollar store. All right. And I come back with a big old fucking bag of frozen chicken McNuggets. They're dollar store brand too.
Yeah, Clover Valley.
And then some dollar store brand sweet and sour sauce. And I cooked those things up in the air fryer. We each got 15 nuggets. And then the total price was $8, $4 each. And I still got most of that sauce left over. That was like $2 something right there. For $6, you can get 30 fucking fucking McNuggets. They were pretty good. That's because we came back from the bar a couple weeks ago. Go through the McDonald's drive-thru. And she goes, I want some McNuggets.
I was like, I want nugs. So, I usually get a quarter pounder.
Yes, I think I got nuggets too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got some nugs and that sweet and sour sauce. I'm like, man, these are good. So I hadn't had a chicken McNuggets in a long time. I
cooked those fucking things up in the air fryer. They were good. But I think next time I'm going to spray cooking spray on them.
Yeah, there you go.
And I think they'll get it more of a crisp on the outside. They were still good, though.
I like a good chicken nugget.
Yeah,
chicken. That sweet and sour sauce is pretty good.
That was some redneck fucking ghetto ass chicken McNuggets. They were still good though. They were good. They weren't as good as McDonald's, but close.
Yeah, they weren't quite as crunchy.
I think if I put cooking spray on.
Yeah, because the McDonald's nugs are like real crunchy on the outside.
Because I think that air fryer, it needed some oil on them to crunch them. Oh, the directions just said bake them in the oven.
Oh, the hell with that.
Yeah, fuck that. You want to fry them.
Speaking of the McDonald's drive-thru,
yeah,
the nugs incident wasn't an incident. We just got McNuggets instead of burgers. But that was 2 weeks ago. This past Saturday, we stopped at McDonald's. I got a quarter pounder. He got a Big Mac. And there were two people looked like they'd been to a party or prom. Not prom. It's not prom time of year. But it looked in those kind of outfits. Yeah. And they were drunk as shit. And they were walking through the drive-thru.
Yeah. And I was up there paying. And
I was like, I didn't think that was
allowed. Yeah, they always got this black girl working in there like every time we go. And I said, you got some crazy-ass white folks back there.
Walking through the drive-thru.
They're
like, they're talking, they were like kind of staggering, talking to the speaker.
They were young too.
They were behind us.
Yeah. And she goes, well, they ain't going to get served.
Yeah, I was like, you're not allowed to walk up to the drive-thru.
And I said, these crazy-ass white, it says, we're crazy-ass white folks, but we're in a car.
She goes, we're in a car.
Yeah.
That's how you're supposed to.
It's fucking funny. So then I go up to pick up my shit. I look back in there. They were getting their order. Yeah. They were still getting their order. They walked through the drive-thru.
I was like, if it was me, if I was working there.
The girl looked embarrassed though.
She did, yeah. I imagine because there's like a big like Westin hotel right there, like behind that McDonald's.
Might have been in the hotel.
So I assumed that they were coming from there because they they were just walking and they didn't look like there's not much else around there.
Yeah.
So I just assumed that. I said if I worked there, I would have totally made them pretend like they were driving a car. I was like, I'm not going to give you food until you pretend you're driving. Yeah. And you have to make a beep beep horn noise too. Yeah. Like otherwise you're not getting anything.
Yeah. I said I'd like to see a fucking raccoon go through the drive-thru, pretending like he's driving. Give him a leaf and then go up next door like that. He's driving.
Like that cat video that went viral. I don't even know where that video took place, but.
Cat asked for something.
It's a cat that comes to a fish market every day with a leaf in its mouth. Oh, okay. Like it has a different leaf. Because it sees people paying for the fish.
Yeah, that's not the one I was thinking.
With money. So it brings a leaf, and they thought it was cute, so they gave him a fish every day.
There's another one I see. Guy's got on his phone, and he's recording a raccoon going through the drive-thru, and then bagging at the drive-thru, and they give him a donut. It was a Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru. Yeah. And he takes the fucking donut and runs. Puts it in his mouth and runs. Got it. Yeah.
He probably comes there every day.
Yeah. I've never seen that.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Raccoon knew donuts. He knew all about donuts. Give me one of them donuts. Yeah. Probably smelled good. Baking donuts in there.
That's what I would think. Yeah. I mean, how can you resist? Yeah. Some cute little raccoon up there with his little purse and hands.
Standing on his back legs with his hands up like this.
Donut, please.
Yeah. Fucking funny.
Then he's like, woohoo, score!
Yeah.
He runs back in the thing.
All right, let's go ahead and shut it down.
All right, so we are going to wrap it up for this evening. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this little review that we did.
Hold on, I got an SCMA alumni.
Oh, there you go.
Who is that in there?
Soundboy. It's Brian.
Oh, Brian. Yeah, okay, Brian. Yeah. Okay, yeah. All right, what's up, Brian?
I was going to say, Wednesday night's show should be super fun because it's myths about Elvis. Remember how somebody like
that's coming up. Let me go. Yeah.
That's gonna be Wednesday night show.
Supernatural Elvis.
Supernatural Elvis. Elvis is alive sightings.
All right.
Spiritual Elvis. We might talk about Orion.
Okay. Yeah. It's gonna
shit
be
like that.
This show.
So it should be super fun. It won't be depressing like the usual ones that we do about serial killers and shit. So that should be a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys can join us for that. So have a good rest of your evening, y'all, and have a good day tomorrow. We'll see you guys again on Wednesday night. Good night.